Hi there, my name is Dr. Katie Saint, and this video is on modeling and how we can use it to help our kids grow. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. All right, so I called this modeling. They are always watching. And the reason for that is because kids copy what we do so much. It's really convicting as a parent that what we do, our kids are likely to also do. So sometimes this helps us, but sometimes it hurts us. So we're going to dive into how we can use modeling to help our kids. So first of all, what is modeling? Modeling is simply us or someone else, even a video, acting out what we want somebody to do. So it can be done with a peer, it can be done with an adult, or can be done in a video. This helps the child understand expectations. This can give them an example so that it's easier for them to copy. We've learned with autism, typically visual models are really helpful compared to if we just verbally tell them what to do. So this can be a really effective tool to help them understand and see what is expected. So assessing if your child will benefit from modeling, you want to look at if you're modeling something that is doable. If you're modeling how to drive your car for a 3-year-old, it's kind of pointless. But if you're modeling how to say a word, or if you're modeling emotional regulation, that's something that they can copy. So another thing to look at is if they need precursor skills. So sometimes they need to develop skills first below where the modeling is at in order for them to copy you. So you want to think about that too. If maybe you need to be modeling the precursor skills so you can build up to it to help them be successful. So the research is really encouraging about how effective modeling is. It shows that it helps with communication skills, joint attention, academics, play skills, vocational skills, and more. So it has been shown to work with a large variety of skills. And it says it's more effective if you pair it with reinforcement, meaning that you model it, they copy you, and then you provide them reinforcement for copying you. So I'm using the word reinforcement as a general term to mean when they copy you, you do something immediately after that they like, whether it's praise, if they like praise, a hug, tickles, edible, anything that they find positive, you want to do immediately after. If there's a delay in that reinforcement, it's not going to be effective. So you want it to be pretty quick after. So modeling can be used in combination with a number of ABA tools. So prompting can be one. Sometimes we might do a model as a prompt. So a kid says, "Give me the candy." And then you respond with, "Can I please have a piece of candy?" So you modeled what you want them to say, but that was also a prompt. So it cues them to be like, "Oh, yeah, I need to be polite." Reinforcement, we already talked about. This is really important. When they copy you, you want to provide that reinforcement so you can help shape that behavior, because behavior goes where reinforcement flows. So if a behavior is not being reinforced, it's going to go away. So if you want your child to do something more often, you need to make sure you're reinforcing it. Next, antecedent strategies. These are strategies that you use before the moment. So you might be using proactive sensory. You might be using proactive regulation skills. You might have a visual schedule out or different things like that that you're using ahead of time to help them be successful in that moment. Next is chaining. So chaining is when you link things together. It can be part of a routine or a sequence that they're used to. So I know in the morning, I have a morning chain, right? I wake up, I take a shower, I brush my teeth, I change my clothes, put my makeup on, I eat breakfast. That's my morning chain. So if somebody is in a routine, a habit of doing that chain, and then you add one thing to the chain, it can get associated with that routine, and then it's easier to pick up the behavior. So you could apply modeling to an already established routine, and then your child might be more likely to do it. Next is visual supports. If you have visuals of any kind to help them be successful, that could increase the likelihood that they implement what you're modeling. Environmental arrangement. So what this means is you set up the environment, whether it's your living room, your kitchen, wherever you are, the school, so that they're likely to be more successful. So for example, if I want my son to pay attention to me, I'm not going to have a bunch of electronics and toys and food in front of him because he's going to be really distracted. So if I'm going to set up the environment for him to attend, I'm going to have a low amount of distractions. I'm going to set up the environment so that he can focus on me and there isn't competing things all around that are getting his attention. Next is shaping. So shaping means that we are reinforcing approximations. So if I want my child to say please and they say P, that's close. So we're going to reinforce their attempt to say please because they did try it, they did the best they could, and we got the beginning sound out. And so as they get reinforcement for making that beginning sound, we maybe will raise our expectations once we learn, okay, they can say the full word now. After I've reinforced steps along the way, they're ready and capable. So now I can reinforce the full word. But at first, I'm going to reinforce those attempts so that as they're learning, that process gets reinforced, because sometimes the end goal is so far away that if we only reinforce that, your schedule of reinforcement would be too thin and they would give up. So we want to reinforce those approximations so that they can build on that skill. So let's talk about emotional regulation and modeling. If we want our children to practice emotional regulation, if we want them to be good at it, we also have to be good at it. Screaming parents do not produce calm children. And so I don't say that in attempt to shame anyone, because I get how hard parenting is, and I totally understand how sometimes we get maxed out and it's just more than we can handle and we slip. And so there is grace in that. But keep in mind, if your household has a chronic pattern of emotional dysregulation, your kids are likely to follow. And so even if emotional regulation skills are taught in your home, if nobody's using them, it is very unlikely that your child will as well. So we want the whole family system to be modeling and showing emotional regulation. And so what that looks like, in addition to just using emotional regulation yourself, is talking about it. So you can say, oh gosh, I'm really stressed right now because we only have 5 minutes to get there and I don't feel like that's enough time. So I'm going to take a few deep breaths to focus and try and do my best to do what I can with the time we have, right? So you talk about it, you label what you're feeling, and you tell your child what you're doing to cope to emotionally regulate. So even if your child is nonverbal, this sort of modeling is good. Our kiddos so often understand more than they can communicate. So go ahead and talk to them. Go ahead and tell them, whew, I'm really stressed out right now. I need to take some deep breaths. I'm really stressed out. I'm going to go in the other room for a moment because I just need a minute to calm down. Or this is really loud. This is overstimulating for me. So I need to step out. Talk about that. Tell them what you're doing to regulate. This is going to help them learn, and this is going to help you even because when we label our emotions, it takes the power out of it. So, this is going to help our whole family. So, conflict resolution and modeling. So, if you come from a family where conflict resolution means name calling, cussing each other out, blaming, things like that, but we want our kids to be better at it, that's going to be hard. So, we want to really practice healthy conflict resolution. We want to practice taking ownership for our behaviors. We want to practice calmly communicating hard subjects. We want to validate other people's point of view. We want to be good listeners. We want to show compromise and all of that kind of stuff. So we need to remember, when it comes to conflict resolution, our kids are very likely to copy us. And so we want to show them how to do it in a healthy way. And so this can be really hard sometimes. And sometimes, depending on your living situation, you might not have control over how everybody handles conflict resolution. But if even one out of two parents handles it well, that's going to help your kid. So just be mindful of how you're handling it, talk through it, and partner it with your emotional regulation skills. So say to your child, you know what? I'm really upset right now. And I think I need to take a 2-minute break to calm down. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to communicate very well. And take that break and come back and then resolve the conflict. So next is time management and modeling. So if we are running around like crazy, always doing things last minute, always in crisis mode and procrastination and things like that, our kids are likely to copy that too. So talking about time can really help. So, okay, we're going to leave at 10 o'clock. So that means it's 9 o'clock right now. I should eat something and I should change my clothes and get ready so that when it's time to go, I will be ready. So talk it out and kind of map out how you're going to manage your time to help your children understand that. So many of our clients struggle with time management and even just the understanding of how many things you can do in the day or how long things take. So if you talk about time more often, that's going to help your child understand the concept and be better at time management. So just be mindful of how you're doing your own time management, and then be proactive about it. Talk about it with your kid, plan it out so that they can benefit from your time management skills too, and eventually copy it. Lastly is work ethic and modeling. So this one is valuable for our kiddos who are tempted to miss for small reasons. They maybe want to cancel every time they're nervous, or they want to cancel every time something else fun comes up, or they wake up and they're tired. So we want to model for them that we do things even when it's hard, unless we're sick enough that we're going to get other people sick, and then that's an appropriate time to cancel. So sometimes we maybe don't feel good, but we hide it. And so you should tell your kids, you know what? I'm really tired today. I didn't sleep good last night, but I'm still going to go to work. Let them know that, even that you're not feeling well. Let them know you didn't sleep good and you're tired and you would rather stay home, so that they understand sometimes mom doesn't feel good, sometimes dad doesn't feel good, and they still go to work unless they're really going to get other people sick. So if you're vomiting or have a fever, things like that, we ask that you cancel therapy. But if it's just sleepiness or, that kind of thing, we want to model for our kiddos that we have to do things even when we don't feel like it. Being a successful adult means that we can push ourselves to do non-preferred things even when we're not super excited about it. So if we're honest with our kids, when we're feeling groggy or out of it or grumpy, and then we push through and we do it anyway, that's going to help them see and understand how to do it themselves. Next is health and modeling. So our kids copy so much our health patterns. So our exercise, our eating habits, these have such a huge impact on emotional regulation, anxiety and depression, especially. Exercise and our eating habits really impacts. So when we're eating unhealthy foods like sugar and processed foods, things like that, it causes our blood sugar levels to spike and then crash. And when this happens, it makes emotional regulation really difficult. We are way more likely to be grumpy, to snap, to have behavior problems if we're not eating healthy foods. And then on top of that, regular exercise provides endorphins and dopamine that make you feel content, that provide you with emotional regulation chemicals in your body that make you cope with life better and just help you be more level. So, if you're not exercising, if you're not eating healthy, you're modeling that for your kids and they're unlikely to do the same. And so, we really want to work on our health as a family so that we can model that healthy behavior that's going to help the entire family's emotional regulation. So definitely be mindful of these patterns. And keep in mind, I totally get how hard this one is. I think every adult feels like they could do better in this category. So this is not meant to be a shaming thing whatsoever. We are all in the same boat where we have areas that we can improve and grow in. So it's just helpful to be mindful of the research behind it and why it benefits you. So, next, evaluate what areas you want to target. So, now that we've kind of gone through modeling and the different ways that it can be applied, what do you think would be most beneficial to work on in your family? What area do you want to target modeling more? Try and come up with one or two things that you feel like, you know what, this is the area that I'm going to target to increase modeling in so that my kid's more likely to do this. Go ahead and pick that thing and then tell your senior therapist. Let your senior know what thing you picked so that they can support you with it. Next, who can you draw in to help with modeling? So you're committed to it. You've decided you're going to do that one thing. Who else do you want to get involved? Do you want your spouse? Do you want grandma, grandpa? Do you want siblings? Do you want peers? You can use a wide variety of people to do modeling in order to help develop that skill. So go ahead and think about who you want involved. Next, what will you use for reinforcement after modeling? So, if you remember earlier, I said modeling works a lot better when we reinforce if they copy us. So, you should have a reinforcement plan for what are you going to do immediately after they copy you. So, if you see them doing what you just modeled, you want to provide praise if that's reinforcing. You want to provide a hug, tickles, whatever it is that your child likes, you want to give that to them immediately after they copied your model so that that behavior increases, because behaviors don't exist if they're not being reinforced. So we want to heavily reinforce new skills because they're hard to develop, and so if we don't have a strong enough reinforcement pattern, they won't stick. So we need a reinforcement plan. So let your senior know what your reinforcement plan is. If you can't think of an idea for reinforcement, your senior can help you with this and you guys can brainstorm together to come up with something. Next, okay, that is actually the last slide. So I'm going to stop sharing. I hope that you found this video helpful. Modeling is a very powerful tool, and our kids really do copy so much of what we do. Sometimes this is a good thing, sometimes it is not. And so it is helpful to be mindful of what behaviors we want them to copy. And if we're doing anything we don't want them to copy, that's good to be mindful of too. So I hope this video was helpful to you. Please reach out to your therapy team if you want support and if we can help you in any way in developing any of these skills or making some of these behavior changes. All right. Thanks so much for listening.